Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. All right, let's jump right in. I want you to picture a classroom. Let's call the teacher Miss Garcia. She's brilliant, she's passionate, she loves her subject. Let's say 8th grade history. She walks in on Monday, and her lesson plan for the day, in that little box on her desk, just says, "Students will understand the causes of the American Revolution." She gives a fantastic lecture. She shows videos. She's energetic. The bell rings, the kids leave, and she wipes her brow, thinking, wow, that was great. But here's the million-dollar question. Did they understand it? How does she know? What does understand even mean? Does it mean they can list the Stamp Act? Does it mean they can write a 10-page essay comparing the political philosophies of Locke and the colonial pamphleteers? Does it mean they can feel the frustration of taxation without representation? If you're a teacher, you know this feeling. This vagueness. It's the gap between what we do in the classroom and what students learn. It's the fog that hangs over our planning. Today, we are going to cut through that fog with a tool that is so common it's almost become a cliché. But I'm going to argue that when it's used correctly, as a scalpel for your thinking, not as a bureaucratic checklist, it is the single most powerful tool in your planning arsenal. We are talking about SMART goals. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. SMART goals? Really? That's corporate speak. That's for project managers and quarterly reports. And you're not wrong about its origins. The acronym first popped up in a 1981 article by George T. Doran called "There's a Smart Way to Write Management's Goals and Objectives." It was designed for business. But here's the thing. Teaching is a form of project management. It's the most complex, high-stakes project management on the planet. You are managing the cognitive and emotional development of 30 unique human beings all at once with limited resources and a ticking clock. So, let's reclaim this tool from the middle managers and turn it into what it was always meant to be, a framework for clarity. The purpose of a SMART objective isn't to satisfy your administrator. It's not to check a box on your evaluation. The purpose of a SMART objective is to make learning visible. It's a contract you make with yourself and with your students. It says, this is what we are climbing, this is what the top of the mountain looks like, and this is how we'll know we got there. Our friend Miss Garcia's objective, students will understand the causes of the American Revolution, is what I call a hope and a prayer objective. It's a noble wish, but it's not a plan. So let's break down the acronym and rebuild it from the ground up for the classroom. Specific. The S in SMART stands for specific. This seems obvious, but it's the single most common failure point. Specific means we are drilling down from the big, fuzzy concept, like understanding, to a concrete, observable action. Specific answers the who, what, and why of your lesson. Who? The student. This is key. The objective is about student action, not teacher action. I will teach the revolution is a teacher goal. The student will is a learning objective. What? What exactly will they do? What's the verb? Why? What's the purpose? This often gets rolled into the R for relevant, but it starts here. Let's go back to Miss Garcia. Vague objective. Students will understand the causes of the American Revolution. Specific objective. Students will be able to identify and explain 3 major British policies, e.g. the Stamp Act, the Tea Act, the Intolerable Acts, and describe one colonial argument against each. Do you feel the difference? It's like focusing a camera lens. The blurry, abstract understand snaps into sharp, concrete actions. Identify, explain, describe. Suddenly, Miss Garcia knows exactly what she needs to teach and assess. She's not just talking about the revolution. She's guiding students toward a very specific set of skills and knowledge. The expert insight on specific. From a cognitive science perspective, specificity is about managing cognitive load. A vague objective creates a high cognitive load for the student. They're sitting in class trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be paying attention to? Is this bit important? Will this be on the test? A specific declared objective, written on the board, stated at the beginning of class, clears all that away. It tells the student's brain, this is your target, focus here. It frees up their working memory to actually do the learning instead of trying to decode the teacher's intentions. The S pitfall. The danger here is getting too specific, to the point of being pedantic or killing creativity. If your objective is, students will write a 5-sentence paragraph using the word metaphor 3 times, you've become a compliance manager, not a teacher. Specific should define the destination, not every single footstep of the journey. It should define the what, not prescribe the how in a way that stifles all student agency. It's a fine line. Students will be able to analyze the impact of a central metaphor in a poem, is specific. Students will highlight the metaphor in yellow, is a low-level instruction, not an objective. Measurable. This is the big one. This is where understanding and learning go to die. The M stands for measurable. If an objective is a promise, the measurable part is the proof. How will you and the student know that they've achieved the specific thing you set out to do? This is all about the verb. If your objective has a fuzzy verb, you're in trouble. These are verbs like understand, learn, know, appreciate, become familiar with. Grasp the concept of, I can't see understanding. I can't grade knowing. I can't put appreciation in my gradebook. These are internal states. Measurable objectives use action verbs. Verbs that point to an observable behavior or a product. Think about Bloom's taxonomy. Instead of know, try list, define, label, identify. Instead of understand, try explain, summarize, paraphrase, compare, contrast. Instead of appreciate, try argue, defend, critique, justify, evaluate. Let's upgrade Ms. Garcia's objective again. Specific but not yet measurable. Students will be able to explain 3 major British policies. Specific and measurable. Students will be able to write a 1-paragraph summary explaining the cause and effect of 3 major British policies: Stamp Act, Tea Act, Intolerable Acts. See, now I have a product. I have a paragraph. I can measure that paragraph against a rubric or a checklist. Did they identify the policy? Did they explain its effect? Yes or no? We've moved from I think they got it to I have direct evidence. The M pitfall. This is a big one. The trap is thinking if it's not easily measurable, it's not worth teaching. This is a disaster for the humanities, for the arts, for social-emotional learning. How do you measure empathy? How do you measure creativity? How do you measure critical thinking? This is where expert teachers separate from novice teachers. A novice gives up and says, well, I guess I'll just do a multiple-choice test on the dates. An expert gets, well, creative. You don't measure creativity with a Scantron. You measure it with a rubric. Objective. Students will be able to compose an original piece of music that evokes a specific emotion, e.g., joy, tension. Measurement. A rubric that assesses use of tempo. 2. Harmonic choices. 3. Originality. 4. Adherence to the emotional prompt. You don't measure empathy in a day. Objective. Students will be able to evaluate a historical event from 2 opposing perspectives. Measurement. A written debate or a position paper where they must accurately and charitably state the other side's argument before refuting it. The expert insight on measurable. Measurable does not mean summative assessment. It doesn't mean a test for a grade. This is where so many schools get it wrong. Measurement should be, first and foremost, formative. It's data for you and for the student in the middle of the lesson. The M in your objective is your check for understanding, CFU. Objective. Students will be able to solve 2-step algebraic equations. Measurement, formative. An exit ticket with 3 problems. Measurement, formative. Holding up whiteboards so you can scan the room. Measurement, formative. A think, pair, share where you listen in on the explain part of their discussion. The M is your steering wheel. The moment you measure, by looking at the whiteboards, and see that 70% of the class is lost, you steer. You stop. You reteach. You don't just cover the material and wait for the big measure on the Friday test, by which point it's too late.